Weeaboo! Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is
Ethan.
And today we are reviewing Netflix's original anime series called
Forest of Piano.
I'm glad you got that right because I wouldn't know.
The piano of the forest is within me at all times.
Okay, so there are 2 seasons of The Forest of Piano and Netflix recently just dropped the 2nd season and we're going to we're kind of doing a review and talking about it. We're kind of reviewing the 2nd season, but Ethan's going to give us a synopsis sort of what it's about.
So the main storyline is about Kai Ichino's a Japanese child who is amazingly good at piano, just can do anything he wants on the piano, copy anyone. And this teacher, who's lost his ability to play piano in an accident, he teaches him how to play piano properly and takes him all around the world in hopes of enlightening the world of his talent.
The Forest of Piano is probably not an anime you've heard of, and the reason why we are reviewing this one is because I like to bring to you anime that you might not have heard of, but is also quite unique and different, and I think this fits that format wholeheartedly. It is classical music. If you're a big fan of classical music, it focuses a lot on Chopin, mostly on Chopin. And then you take anime and it does all the classical anime kind of tropes and things that you would have in anime, and then it mixes those two together, and it's not something that I thought would have worked, although you do get anime like Food Wars and all bizarre things. As far as you dig into anime, you will probably find some sort of anime of that thing if you're looking for it. But this is a Netflix original, so they've given some sort of budget to it, they've given some sort of storyline and time to it. But I would say that the first season, which is 12 episodes I think, is the better season than the second one. The second one does feel a bit rushed to me, and the animation itself is a bit of an amalgamation of of computer-generated images in amongst what looks to be hand-drawn, sometimes not hand-drawn, and so that doesn't quite work for me. But where this does shine, where I think this anime does work, is the storylines of the pianist. And so there's this big competition, the Chopin competition, that is the focus of this anime. And as they start going through the different tiers of this competition and who gets kicked out and who wins, there is this whole storyline that you get to immerse yourselves in with the characters. As they're performing, you get to see their backstories, and that works really well, I thought, because their characters are so well defined in amongst the competition. That was a really nice way to do it. So a lot of times you get flashbacks and you get backstories, but it's worked in with while they're doing competitions. And by the end, I really like most of the characters. I thought they developed them quite well. The backstory is in this anime, I thought really worked well. What do you think about the backstory?
The main character's backstory, Kai Ichino's, he makes you really feel for him. His mother is not in a good place, but she still really cares for him and does everything in her power to make him succeed. But then, once you go to the international Chopin competition, you see that he's not the only one that has a sad backstory, and you end up really getting emotional at all the characters and their music.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not an anime fan, this may be one to introduce you or to draw you into the world of anime, because it's massive. But if you're a fan of classical music, and especially like the deep stuff of Chopin, there is so much of that in this. It's mostly just classical music in amongst that storyline which they're going through, which they filter through of the storylines of the characters that they're trying to portray on screen with whoever is performing the competitions. And I think it works well. But if you want to be introducing yourselves to anime, this could be a fun one to get yourselves immersed into this whole giant world of anime. For anime lovers, I think it also works, kind of. There were times where I was playing different games, so maybe I was slightly bored in places. We played the game of Faces, because in the background the anime characters were sometimes not even animated. Sometimes they had the strangest weird looks of like giant smiles for no reason, or someone was clapping weirdly, or they were all weirdly clapping strangely. So the animation in this is not the best for anime. They are far superior animated animes, but the storyline I thought was really good.
It really feels like they didn't have enough of a budget to animate it all, so they threw in a mix of CGI and animated just to cut the budget and then a lot of stills in between.
There were a lot of stills, a lot of reuses of sequences, reuses of stills with their panning up and panning down, and still shots but with dialogue over it. So it does feel like they didn't have a big budget for this, which is disappointing.
In the second season, it was even worse, and it just felt more rushed, but the storyline was still very good.
The storyline was good enough to keep us engaged throughout the 2 seasons, and I think I'm right in saying that it's finished. It's a finished story. They shouldn't do any more.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I have my favorite characters, some quite quirky ones, quite unique ones. The main character I really like. I like Gino. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah,
Gino. I thought his character was developed quite well in the end, and it feels very completionist. So it has this full circle for most characters, which I thought was a clever way in writing that.
They could have done with one more episode for the epilogue, but it was still finished, and I think they got away with not having extra episodes.
Yeah, and it's quite nice to have an anime that's also finished, because many times you get involved in these animes that just go on and on and on, or they don't ever finish. So they'll do one series, but something happens and you never get to find out what happens because you haven't read the manga, or the manga, however you like to pronounce it. But then you're just left on this cliffhanger, this edge, and you might have to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years, or never have that anime come back, as we've experienced many times.
World Trigger.
World Trigger, exactly, that's fun. But this was enjoyable, not the best animated anime, great story. What would you rate this?
B-. It was just overall excellent. Even with the lack of animation, I do love myself a bit of storyline, and the times where it was animated, it was very accurate, and I can see why they spent a lot of budget on it. So it was very good.
I liked the story, and I thought the classical and the anime worked well together. But because the anime itself wasn't as good, I'm going to give it slightly lower than Ethan, and I'm going to give it a B+. So that gives you an example that it's actually really good, if you can just excuse some of the anime issues. Thank you so much for get it right.
Gamer Nation here.
Gamer.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys in the comments and liking and sharing. If you do like this review, please do share it and like it and comment. We will be chatting to you there in the bottom. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.